We are going to provide the best television facilities money can buy. Primarily, our concern is to operate in the public interest.
Pulling everybody together and having a good time and having a sense of community is something I think this station's about.
We consider it to be of prime importance that this area have a voice that will give all sides to those questions which affect the people.
Our primary duty was to inform and educate.
Information to which the public is entitled will be given without bias or favor.
I think people trusted us that we were doing something good for the entire community.
A vision, a voice, 40 years of service.
WRAL-TV is celebrating its 40th birthday. Now, it's hard to trace 4 decades of broadcast history in just 1 hour, but we hope to share some of the most memorable milestones of those 40 years with you.
From extensive news coverage to fun children's shows, WRAL-TV has been serving our community since December 15th, 1956. So we'll share some of the memorable and important moments in the areas of community service, children's programming, and news.
And just like tracing your family history, it all starts with people.
Capital Broadcasting Company was formed in 1937 by A.J. Fletcher, a successful Raleigh attorney, known to just about everybody as Mr. A.J. 2 years later, he signed on WRAL-AM, Raleigh's second radio station. Mr. A.J. then pioneered FM radio in North Carolina. Next came the television frontier.
I was working in radio, and there was a free zone at the FCC, which meant everybody could apply for any channel that was available, and Channel 5 had been assigned to Raleigh.
This was a very desirable award, the Channel 5 in the Raleigh area, and RAL was the little station up against the very big station. WPTF was one of the nation's great stations.
We went to Washington for, the better part of 90 days to thrash it out before the FCC, and sort of a courtroom setting, really.
It was the most complicated hearing up to that time in the FCC's history. And so each applicant had to put together a very elaborate plan of local programs, mixed in, of course, with network programs and films.
With those 10 or 12 notebooks that thick, that was the most words on paper anybody had ever presented to the FCC.
We worked very hard, and as good as they were, we were better. And it was a case of David versus Goliath, and David brought Goliath down, and RAL, the little station down the street, got the award and became one of the great stations now in the country.
Mr. A.J. had now pioneered television in Raleigh.
When he was 70, he closed up his law office and came out here, took on television as his new challenge.
WRAL-TV immediately began fulfilling its FCC promise to produce lots of local programs.
NBC went dead from 9 until 11 in the morning. You had to fill that time locally, and you could run a film if you wanted to, and many stations did, but we chose not to do that. We had on children's programs and other local public service programs. We tried to make them entertaining and attractive, of course, but it was a gargantuan effort.
Vice President and General Manager Fred Fletcher, Mr. A.J.'s son, encouraged musical groups to perform live from the Channel 5 studios. One day, Fred heard this man calling a baseball game in a Raleigh ballpark. He knew that voice belonged on air.
And said, well, let's try each other out. So we did.
WRAL-TV soon kicked off a weekly dance party for North Carolina's teenagers, and J.D. Lewis started spinning the top tunes on Teenage Frolics.
I was the very first black on-the-air personality. We danced, and we talked, and we talked about the school. And the best way to explain it, it was the Dick Clark type show and Soul Train type show. And this one was what we preceded Soul Train by a number of years. It was very popular, and it lasted for about 23 years.
In 1958, Fred invited Raleigh's sister Gary to host a gospel show.
Fred was a very advanced thinker socially. He believed the community was the community. It included everybody. And he did not draw distinctions between black people or white people or women or men or children and grown-ups. He liked everybody, and everybody liked him. And so he liked Sister Gary because she was a good influence in the community, and by gad, he was going to give her the kind of exposure she needed to be known by the community as a whole.
Today, local gospel music is still part of WRAL-TV's Sunday morning schedule. And the host for Spiritual Awakening? Sister Gary's nephew. When local events or other program ideas would not fit inside this studio, Channel 5 went on location with its first remote truck.
One of the earliest live programs that we did was the watermelon seed spitting contest and Watermelon Day at the Old Farmers Market. And Fred Fletcher was our manager, and it was one of his favorite activities. Well, I saw it was important to be a part of that, so I entered the contest. And by golly, I won. I was the state champion watermelon seed spitter.
Grand openings, Little League games, and of course, big news stories. Wow, can you believe that's a shot of RDU International? All were broadcast live by Channel 5. And WRAL-TV continues to televise the Raleigh Christmas Parade live each year.
Mr. A.J. Fletcher for a special Christmas reading.
Sometime, somewhere, it was the eve of Christmas.
Mr. A.J. enjoyed creating holiday traditions for the viewers, and this one is still a favorite for children and adults.
Well, the tower looked like a tree if you could get it right between your hands like this. And he thought it would be nice to put some lights on it. And so we asked the man who came and checked the flashing light on the top of the thing periodically, which the FCC made us do, if he could put Christmas tree lights on it. And he told him, said, you got to buy a lot of them. and he bought a lot of them, about 3,600. And they strung them up down that tower and all the struts and all the cross pieces, and turned it on and just stopped traffic. The first time that was ever done. All that 5:30 crowd coming out of downtown on December the 1st. And that got to be an annual thing. People liked the idea of a 300-foot Christmas tree. That was a nice thing to do for the season. And we do it to this very day.
Another annual program that continues today is the Golden Year celebration. Fred Fletcher and the Raleigh's Parks and Recreation Department began this holiday tradition to honor the area's senior citizens. 40 people attended back in 1958.
Last Christmas, there were 1,400 senior citizens attended and had Christmas dinner and enjoyed the program. At least I think they did.
For Christmas is my two front teeth, my two front teeth. I said my two front teeth.
Fred is unique among humankind for what he did for the elderly, and they love him for it, and I love him for it too.
Jesse Helms wrote and voiced nightly editorials until he took a leave of absence to enter politics. When he won the U.S. Senate seat, he resigned from WRAL-TV.
Sometimes I regret it. I wish I were still a stockholder of Capital Broadcasting Company, but I must say that I am not. I redeemed my stock many years ago because I did not think it proper for me to be voting on matters involving communications and owning stock in a television station. So I redeemed my stock.
Before Helms left Channel 5, he started the first cerebral palsy telethon to raise money for research for a cerebral palsy cure. That was in 1969. Since then, WRAL-TV has raised close to $10 million for UCP of North Carolina. Today, much of the local telethon's success belongs to this man.
My association with the telethon has been one of the highlights of my public service. My association, when I got to know more about the condition of cerebral palsy, when I got to know a lot of the clients of cerebral palsy, both children and adults, And when I had a chance to see if I could do something to help them, along with all of my colleagues and all of the support personnel, it's an example of what a television station can do if they really try in the community.
Still to come, the history of WRAL-TV News.
We had some great moments together. We had great chemistry, I think, between the four of us.
Up next,
where we took community fairs out into the world. We broadened our horizons, past the boundaries of the state of North Carolina, but into the world.
A Vision, a Voice, 40 years of service, is proudly sponsored by Jiffy Lube. WRAL-TV5 has more full-time meteorologists than any broadcast station in the Carolinas.
We've got Mike Mays, who has a degree. We have Brian Rozelle, who has a degree. We have Chris Thompson, who has a degree. We have Mike Moss, who has a degree.
5 professionals with over 60 years of knowledge working for you 24 hours a day.
That means that I have an awful lot of resources to draw upon that maybe some other people in the business don't.
Greg Fischel and the WRAL Weather Center. Forecasting you can count on.
Hello, I'm Betty Elliott of Channel 5's Ben Fair.
During the 60s, Betty Elliott offered women's news each morning at 10, while Bob DeBartoleben offered cash jackpots. On Wednesday nights, our studios were packed for the taping of Championship Wrestling. And outside the WRAL studios, a gorgeous garden packed with azaleas.
Thousands of people come to the station every year to see these beautiful gardens. A.J. Fletcher's concept. He personally had this vision of how they would be landscaped and how the paths would wind all the way through and so forth.
Every year, WRAL donates thousands of azalea plants to nonprofit groups.
If you have a worthy project and you need flowers, you need azaleas for it, they give them to you. Now think about that. It's unusual, isn't it?
Another unusual gift we give the community each year is Pops in the Park. Since 1979, WRAL has sponsored a Labor Day weekend concert by the North Carolina Symphony. Last September, close to 40,000 music lovers came to the event, while thousands more watched the local broadcast on WRAL-TV5. The 80s were the age of the magazine show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Darlene.
And I'm Tom McNamara. Welcome to PM Magazine. You watched this when you were a kid, right? Yeah, we're back. Here we are, Pullen Park. You see the path and the concrete that we wore out. I don't know how many thousands of times we stood here and cranked out our shows.
Can you believe it? We went on the air in 1980. Together, you and I did over 1,000 shows. But it was so convenient to come over here. Spectator magazine said Pullen Park is PM Magazine's favorite backdrop. That's what they voted
it. I know, it was 5 minutes out the door. It was close. It was convenient. It's a pretty place.
It is.
When Susan and I first got here, many, many years ago, 16 years ago, we didn't know very many people, and I don't think either of us had a lot of money. And she came to me once, her hair was getting a little bit long, and asked me to give her a haircut, or either I offered or she asked me. I gave her a haircut, and to make a wonderful story short, the general manager got one look at it and said, don't you ever do that again. That was the beginning of a great friendship.
Well, I'd have to say the most memorable moment in PM Magazine was actually a blooper that even ran all over the country on foul-ups, bleeps, and blunders. One time we were out roller skating, and both of us couldn't roller skate very well, but Tom was worse. So they just planted him next to a wall, said just stand there. Susan, skate on down to him. But they put me on a hill. I couldn't stop.
Tom. Oh, God. Are you all right? I'm sorry.
The crash, at least 3 Americans were...
Tom's now anchoring the news in Greensboro, and Susan produces entertainment features for WRAL-TV.
Carolina Saturday was a half-hour public affairs show where we took the issues of the community and we did stories from all across the state of North Carolina. We had an opportunity in 1985 to have a very special guest join me on that show, and that was Charles Carroll. It was a time when we were switching affiliations from ABC to CBS, and Charles Carroll came down and did a story for us from Bahama, and also sat with me at West Point on the Eno in the old mill and talked with me about his life here in North Carolina and played checkers with me. I remember it was a very special time for me and a very special time in the history of this station.
Jim Goodman who is a child of the space age, is to this day so interested in the latest technology.
My family got into the broadcasting business in 1939. So my grandfather's been president of the company, my uncle has been president of the company, and I'm president of the company. I took a little different tack. Coming in, I came in on the technical operations side. My grandfather was the lawyer, businessman. My uncle was very much the talent on air. I came into it from the technical side, and I started a lot younger than they did. You know, I was here when we signed on. I was 13. I remember being at the transmitter with Arthur Lancaster and Virgil Duncan. So my interests have been a little different from theirs, but what I've tried to do is keep the core interest in the community and what we stand for and who we are, and put my interest in technology on top of that, and off we go.
He had this vision of where news was going and where television was going. So he was the one who said, why don't we go over and do this 400th commemoration and do a live telecast from Plymouth, England.
And in 1984, WRAL-TV accomplished another technological first. Via satellite, we were the first local station to broadcast internationally.
In North Carolina, what we call America's 400th is when the Roanoke voyages came over here and landed on the shores of North Carolina. We say that that was the beginning of English-speaking America, that paved the way for the rest. So they sailed from Plymouth, England, and on the 400th birthday date of that, we went over, and I'm telling you, one of the most exciting things that I've ever done, and this was, as far as I know, this was the first international telecast by any local station in North Carolina, and I'm sure many other states. We did a live telecast from the Barbican of Plymouth, England. It was an exciting telecast. It was an exciting assignment.
We really like the notion of trying to pull everybody together in the community and pulling off a big event, a big happening. I thought the 400th was that. The Olympic Festival was that. Really the first time we got the whole triangle. It's the first time the Triangle Chambers ever met together.
And then they passed the torch in Kinston. Everyone who came got a chance to touch it.
We had everybody working together on the Olympic Festival. We're going to have the same opportunity in 99 with the International Special Olympics that's going to be here. And we're going to have the opportunity again in 2003, the 100th anniversary of flight. And I hope we're going to have the biggest air show there's ever been at Raleigh-Durham Airport.
Project Tanzania is another global outreach project.
In September of 1985, Jim Goodman decided that a crew should go over to Tanzania, East Africa, to look at some of the problems that existed in that region of the world. He had been very moved by the problems that were occurring in Africa with the famine and wanted to see if we as a station couldn't do something about it. So we began working through Catholic Relief Services and joined them in a project in East Africa in the Shinyanga region. There were donations sent over, and have been many donations sent over to that part of Africa in farm supplies, medical supplies, and school supplies.
Next year, more supplies will be sent to Africa, and a group of high school students will travel to Tanzania for a cultural exchange.
I think it was very unusual for us as a local television station to take on a project of this magnitude, where we took community fairs out into the world. We broadened our horizons past the boundaries of the state of North Carolina, but into the world. And that's very unusual.
And back home, WRAL-TV5 launched a comprehensive environmental program to clean up North Carolina's endangered waterways. Save Our Sounds included yearly Carolina Coastal Celebration events in Raleigh.
One of the most precious gifts that we all share is our coast, and yet we are destroying it.
Public service announcements offering steps we can all take to protect our waters, and sound advice books for children.
Oh, I think
We have a river that's in a dying situation, and we have to worry about it.
The documentary, Troubled Waters, won the Edward R. Murrow Award. And Troubled Rivers, a follow-up documentary about pollution in the Neuse River, won a regional Emmy. WRAL-TV 5 News won a Peabody Award for its long-term commitment to environmental reporting.
We have discovered the river.
Doctors on Call, brought to you by
WRAL-TV continues to reach out with programs like Doctors on Call, where our viewers receive free, confidential medical advice. Duke Children's Miracle Network, a fundraiser for research and treatment for patients at Duke Children's Hospital. And Coats for the Children, a telethon to collect warm winter coats for those in need.
For the last 20 years, either Fred Barber or John Green have been general manager of the television station and have led us not only in news, but in our community involvement efforts. They've done a terrific job, and a big part of the history, more than half of the 40 years of WRAL-TV. Our goal is to serve the community, to help the community solve problems, and to be important to this community. We really love it here.
Still to come, the history of WRAL-TV News.
I came right out of college in 1971 and came to work at WRAL with Ray Reeve, who was my idol growing up, and it was just, you know, it was kind of like a dream came true.
Up next.
Good morning, boys and girls, and how you come on?
In the coming year, as WRAL celebrates its 40th anniversary, we'll take time to salute the people, the communities, and the spirit that make North Carolina such a great place to live.
Local children's programs have always been an important part of WRAL-TV from the very beginning. Our first week on the air, we introduced our first children's TV host. His name was Herb Marks, but he was better known to kids as Cap'n 5. Before long, Cap'n 5 was joined on the air by Romper Room, hosted for most of its run by Margaret Brickell. This photo shows Miss Margaret and her Romper Room students celebrating the show's second birthday. Then, in 1961, came the man people still think of when you mention kids shows and WRAL-TV.
It's time now for Uncle Paul and all his friends. And here he is.
Good morning, boys and girls. How you come on today? This is Friday.
Paul Montgomery was Uncle Paul.
We ran the gamut from cutting up to cartoons to marches to crafts to stories, you name it, we did it. No rehearsal, because we didn't have any rehearsal time. No script, because we didn't need that, actually. We created as we went.
Everybody loved the march, which Uncle Paul led every morning. There are adults all over this part of the state, including a few here at the TV station, who marched as children with Uncle Paul.
And every time I'd see somebody, you know, and say, Uncle Paul, I march with you every morning.
In later years, Paul was joined by a variety of puppet characters, all brought to life by Roll Gorman. When they met, Roll was working for WRAL-FM.
I went down there one day, and Roll and I got to talking, and I asked him about his puppets, and he was telling me about a particular one, and I said, well, why don't you come up tomorrow if you'd like to and be on the show, and let's try him out.
Where you used to live in the woods, did it snow there very often?
Well, once or twice per winter, we'd have a pretty big snow. And then we could play around and make snow skunks and all sorts of things.
The two men hit it off, and soon Roll was there every day, playing 6 puppets, including the popular Zoot.
Oh, yeah, hey, that's good. I like that. Professional, cool man. Hey, Uncle Paul.
How you come on, Zoot?
Well, I'm able to get around and take a little nourishment.
Oh,
Did I say that right?
I'm glad to see you. You still swinging?
Oh, yeah, like a rusty gate, man.
I don't mind if I do.
This kind of freewheeling improvisation, which Paul compares to one of his favorite pastimes, playing jazz, is typical of how the two men worked. Nothing was ever scripted.
There was always some give and take. If he threw out something, he'd get something back from the puppet or from me. He didn't know what it would be, but he knew it would be something that he could work with, and we could keep some kind of a routine going.
For example,
You know what? I thought of something today that I know going to make you very happy.
Well, I could use that, because I'm not happy very often.
It's almost time to rake leaves, and you know how you love to play in the dirt.
I don't like to rake leaves, but I know something I do like to do with leaves.
What's that?
Jump in on, spread them around, and make somebody else rake them up again.
I know. Well, you do that. There's no question about it.
Your rake is outside, sir.
Gee, thanks.
Get with it. And he thought he was retiring.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
A kiddly ivy too. Yeah. And we got to go 'cause we're through. So we ain't gonna say howdy do. We gonna say goodbye till tomorrow. Goodbye till tomorrow. A shooby dooby doo you do. Ooh ooh ooh.
Lay it right out there.
In 1981, after 20 years on the air, Uncle Paul did retire. Time for Uncle Paul was followed by Frog Hollow, another daily children's show which ran for 4 years. In 1984, Frog Hollow won the prestigious Iris Award for Best Local Children's Program. It was followed in 1985 by Sparks, a weekly series about an eccentric time traveler. In 1991, Sparks too won an Iris.
Yikes.
Then came the Androgina Show, which featured an irrepressible puppet and her friends. Androgina can still be seen on Saturday mornings and is currently nominated for 2 regional Emmy Awards. But we aren't stopping there. In January, we'll debut a brand new show, Brain Game, described by its producers as a combination quiz show and pep rally. Brain Game will feature high school students from all over our viewing area. 9th and 10th graders will be competing for prizes that can benefit their entire school. Watch for Brain Games Saturday mornings at 10, beginning January 11th.
Still to come, the history of WRAL-TV News. WRAL Online, best overall web page in Coopers and Lybrand's Best of the World Wide Web competition.
A website that is logical for the novice and attractive to all internet users.
I go to your page every morning to catch up on the news, and especially the weather.
Effectively blending the text and graphics of a website with the audio and video qualities of television.
Find out what everyone's talking about. WRAL Online on the World Wide Web.
A few of us had had some experience, but not many, and most of us, it was just learning as we went. Sometimes we learned, sometimes we didn't.
And there was plenty to learn in those early days. Bill Armstrong was the news department when WRAL-TV signed on the air.
In the beginning, it was just me for news and just Ray Reed for sports. And it was a right hectic proposition since we had to do all the traveling back and forth between here and the transmitter near Clayton. There was one night when I missed it. Had a flat tire about halfway there.
But the station made its early mark.
Back in 1963, there were some Gemini astronauts at the Moorhead Planetarium at Chapel Hill studying celestial navigation. So I took a camera over there and to interview one or two of them. And I just happened to come across one whose name was Neil Armstrong.
One of you 9 gentlemen will probably make history comparable to that of Columbus by being the first to land upon the moon. Are you hoping that's going to be you?
Certainly, and I don't think I'm alone there. I'm sure that each of the other individuals feels the same way. He would like to have himself be on that first trip.
Well, while I have nothing against any of the other 8 astronauts, let's make Armstrong the #1 name on the moon.
But back on Earth, there was no one more down-to-earth than Ray Wilkinson, the voice of the farm community.
Well, I feel lucky, first of all, that I've been able to work with folks that till the soil, that work hard every day, and that have good principles. So I had a Bell & Howell 16mm black and white camera and it strapped to my wrist, and it went everywhere I went.
Ray describes the huge leap from black and white film to color as only a farm reporter can.
But it was one of those things that we just come through, like coming from mules to horses and horses to tractors and so on and so forth. We didn't think too much of it at the time. We just said, oh boy, new stuff.
Ray and the WRAL farm team pioneered farm news in North Carolina, across America, and even into Europe and the former Soviet Union.
I'm Ray Wilkinson from the Rocky Mount Fair. I'm Ray Wilkinson for morning. I'm Ray Wilkinson cotton field down south.
Today, Ray Wilkinson is in the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And last month, he was installed into the National Association of Farm Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
3, 2, 1, go.
Over the years, there have been tens of thousands of newscasts and hundreds of miles of film.
It's Good Morning Charlie, the show that makes you the star. Now here's the man who keeps everybody talking, Charlie Gaddy.
Good morning, everybody.
Little did people realize the impact that the host of Channel 5's new morning show would have on TV news in North Carolina. Not long after his arrival at WRAL, station officials asked Charlie Gaddy to anchor the 6 o'clock news.
The fact that I was asked to start into news did not deter me at all. I had some experience in it, a lot more than anyone realized. I didn't say anything about that at the time, but I was not uncomfortable at all in a news situation. I'd been there before.
Good evening, I'm Charlie Gaddy.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, I'm Charlie Gaddy, and welcome to our new...
For 20 years, Charlie Gaddy brought the news to the viewers of Eastern North Carolina.
This is North Carolina's executive mansion.
In 1976, North Carolina First Lady Pat Holzhauser took Charlie and the viewers on a tour of the newly renovated Governor's Mansion.
Charlie, one of the most fascinating things for people visiting the mansion has always been the staircase.
In 1988, it was halfway around the world to the People's Republic of China.
Standing here, it's difficult to imagine how far we are from North Carolina.
Saudi Arabia and Operation Desert Shield in 1990.
And so after the long plane ride, they are here in these tents. The temperature inside these tents, 110 degrees.
Normandy, 1994, and the 50th anniversary of D-Day.
The sound of artillery would replace the sound of those crashing waves.
We were coming in here with the firemen and the rescue people.
But Charlie will never forget that November night in 1988.
When that tornado hit, Jay Jennings and I were the first TV people on the scene. A friend of mine called and said, who listens to scanners all night. I mean, he's kind of a scanner freak, and he called and said, Charlie, all hell is broken loose in North Raleigh, and it sounds like a tornado.
Charlie, as the sun comes up, is the damage even worse than we thought before?
John, it looks even worse. Again, it is a miracle in this Kmart area that 4 people lived through this.
Well, I'm glad you got out.
Weather has always been important to our viewers, even in the early days.
We started off with the Atlantic Weatherman. I don't know whether you remember that or not. The Atlantic Refining Company sponsored the weather people all over the country.
It's time for Channel 5's weather girl, Marlene Carroll.
In 1961, Marlene Carroll began doing the weather.
Good evening. A weak cool front moved through North Carolina.
No computers, no radar, no high-tech graphics in those days.
It was a blackboard, chalkboard, and it had the map permanently drawn on it of the state, and I literally had a piece of chalk and would write the temperatures on as I would go. You know, 72 here, 70 there.
And Greensboro stayed in the 60s with a high of 68.
It was just really a little bit of chit-chat. Something I did that I didn't really realize I did was when I said goodnight, I winked. It was just goodnight. And it caught on. It was not intentional, it just came naturally.
Now stay tuned for Starlight Theater. Good night.
I found something today that you won't believe in Smithfield.
Doing the weather seemed to come naturally to Bob DeBartoleben. Like so many before him, Bob made the transition from radio to television and never looked back.
While I was in radio, I felt somehow that I just wasn't doing what I really wanted to do in life. And when I got on the tube, I fell in love with it. I really enjoyed it. Still do, still a ham.
You notice how representative our temperature is fairly uniform around our state.
Recently, Mr. D sat down with his old partner, Greg Fishel.
Back when I first got here, you were doing 3 newscasts a day, spread out, noon, 6, and 11.
Well, I felt at the time when the job opened up that I ought to establish some sense of credibility. My job description is a TV weather anchor as opposed to a meteorologist, and so then it was decided to go into the weather center concept. Hey, if you don't think that in cold air, that's Minneapolis today, 0. Well, we had some good times. We had a good staff. You have a good staff now. You've got 5 meteorologists on full-time payroll. I'll tell you again, not because you're sitting here. If I want weather information, I tune to Channel 5. I think by far it is just outstanding, head and shoulders above anybody else, not only in the Raleigh area, but all over the state of North Carolina.
We've had a gust of 65 miles an hour here at the station, 67 miles an hour at the airport, Hurricane 74, close enough for government work. We have hurricane force conditions here right now.
Tell me about Fran.
And, we were hoping that it
was that a big surprise? Well, it had to be a big surprise, didn't it?
It was, you know, it's funny, from a meteorological standpoint, the forecast in terms of how strong the winds were going to be here was almost perfect. I mean, the National Weather Service forecasted hurricane force wind gusts in the triangle at 6 o'clock that night, and that was exactly what happened. But what was the surprise was that I don't think anybody, myself included, translated those numbers into what the landscape would look like the next morning. And when we all got up to the light of day and we looked around, it's like, holy cow, a 79-mile-an-hour wind gust did that?
One thing that came out of the hurricane was that the broadcasters in this community worked together to provide information. The power was off, the cable was down, and what did everybody do? They turned to their radio station, they turned to their TV station. So we're a very important part of what's going on.
Up next.
Not a day goes by that I don't think about North Carolina.
I would just really like to thank a lot of the people I worked with at Channel 5 and all of the viewers in that market for giving me a chance back then.
Recently, WRAL hit the road, listening to you.
We're always looking for fresh stuff, new ideas.
About local news coverage.
I liked how you got out there in the hurricane and everything.
Yeah, we put a lot of dependence on your weather forecast.
And what you want to see.
I like you guys coming to Fayetteville, do a lot of Crime Stopper stuff.
Listening.
You learn so much by listening.
It's what you'll see us doing every day.
Appreciate the talk. Thanks so much.
You can count on our coverage, because whenever you have something to say, WRAL listens.
This is a WRAL-TV promo from the mid-70s. Watch closely. You might see a familiar face. Yep, right there. That's right, it's Bobby Batista. Before there was ever a CNN, Bobby Batista co-anchored the news on Channel 5.
Customers for the cost of new plants while they are still under construction.
It's hard to believe it's been 15 years since she left Raleigh to join CNN. Recently, Bobby visited via satellite with Pam Saulsby.
Bobby, take us back to Action News 5 and the team you were working with then.
You know, we were forging some new territory back then. It was the mid-70s, and it was the advent of co-anchoring the newscast and introducing women into the journalism world, other than being, you know, an occasional reporter. And so it seems like my whole career I seem to be forging new territory, because we've done the same thing here at CNN. But so it was some wild times, as only that atmosphere can produce, and we had some great moments together. We had great chemistry, I think, between the four of us, and that's difficult to find, as you know, in local news. And I think we had something kind of special going on back then.
Wake County's budget for the coming year is currently being drawn up.
Bobby, even after all these years, our viewers still talk about you and have their own memories of Bobby Batista's years here. What would you like to say to those viewers today?
Oh, that is just so endearing. I can't say enough about the people I run into from North Carolina, who are so kind, and they're so generous when they come up and speak to me and remember those years when I was there. And I would just really like to thank a lot of the people I worked with at Channel 5 and all of the viewers in that market for giving me a chance back then. And if it weren't for them, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Well, the state legislature has approved a 5% pay hike for Tar Heel teachers.
In 1983, Adele Arakawa joined the WRAL news team, and for 6 years anchored the 6 and 11 o'clock newscasts.
You worked with Charlie, you worked with Bob, and you worked with Tom Suter, who still invokes your name at least once a week.
I'm sure he does. I don't really know what he's saying about me at this point, but no, Tommy and I had so much fun. We joked a lot on the air, probably to the point of excess, But we genuinely, all four of us, had such a wonderful time. I still keep in touch. I get letters from Bob DeBartoleben telling me how wonderful his golf game is going. And I do talk with Tommy on occasion, and I get a note once in a while from Charlie too. So, you know, a lot of people told us while we were all there together that we seemed like we genuinely liked each other, and it seemed like it was a family. And that's exactly what it was, because we really did have a wonderful relationship.
Adele, walk us through your history from the time you left here and to what you're doing now.
Okay, it's kind of a short history, David. After I left Raleigh, I went to Chicago to WBBM, which is the CBS owned and operated station there. And I anchored the 4:30 afternoon newscast, and then later anchored the 6 o'clock newscast with Bill Curtis. After that, I stayed there 5 years, and 3 years ago, I landed here in Denver and have been here 3 years this month now, and here I'm anchoring the 5, 6, and 10.
Any additional thoughts you would like to leave us with?
You know, if I were going to leave a parting thought, it would be simply, once again, as I did, I think it's been 8 years now, it seems like shorter than that, but I would simply like to express my thanks to all the viewers of Channel 5 and for the wonderful years that I spent there, for the people I worked with, but most of all, the viewers and the community for making the 6 years that I was at RAL some of the best in my life.
As you can imagine, this is an exciting time.
In 1988, Donna Gregory joined the WRAL family, anchoring the 5:30 and 11 o'clock newscasts. She made her mark on the road, covering assignments like the Final Four.
Hi, and welcome to the set of News Scope, the new national news program on UPN. I wanted to help you celebrate your 40th anniversary and show you what I've been up to since we moved to Minneapolis. It reminds me of those early days when Bill Leslie, Renee McCoy, Greg Fischel, and I started up the 5:30 First News back in the late 1980s. Remember the growing pains? But what a treat to work with those WRAL legends. Not to mention Bob DeBartoleben, Tom Suter, Jim Payne, and the most sincere man I'll ever meet, Charlie Gaddy. And trips to 5 Final Fours in London and Russia with phenomenal photographers like Jay Jennings, some great journalists who really care about the community and a tradition of excellence. I am so proud to be a part of the history of WRAL. Hard to believe I spent 8 years co-anchoring the late news. It's a whole different life here on the day shift. I miss you every day, and don't be surprised to see us pop into the Triangle now and then. We have family, lots of friends, and a home we still own in Cary. So happy 40th anniversary, WRAL. You're always in my heart.
John Hudson, what do you think about that? Would you ever have the guts to do something like that?
Well, with a lot more than Wheaties for breakfast, I guarantee it.
In the 80s, viewers invited Denise Boyer and John Hudson into their homes at noon.
Okay.
Denise also broke ground as one of the first medical reporters on television.
Well, I'm coming to you from sunny, make that soggy, Oregon. We're breaking all sorts of rain records this year. Great, huh? Anyway, I'm working for the Providence Health System now. I'm in charge of public relations at this hospital, which is the same hospital that I got my tonsils out when I was 4 years old. I tried several different TV stations, 2 to be exact, when we came back to Portland 3 years ago, and I can honestly say that I knew right away that none of them would even compare to WRAL-TV. I now have a clear perspective that it is probably the best TV station that I've ever worked for and will ever work for. We love it here, we're having a good time, but I can honestly say not a day goes by that I don't think about North Carolina. The mountains, the beaches, but most of all of you. I really, really miss you. Even you, Ray Wilkinson. Hey, I've tried out Cecil and Leonard here. They just don't get it.
He tried to make a save. There goes the Cleanse on the fast break. The layup is good. And Carolina leads 6-0.
Ray Reeve was the greatest radio play-by-play announcer that I ever heard. And I came right out of college in 1971 and came to work at WRAL with Ray Reeve, who was my idol growing up. And it was just, you know, it was kind of like a dream came true.
Tom, what's coming up in sports? I'm afraid to say anything.
25 years ago, a young Tom Suter joined the sports department at Channel 5, fresh out of Erskine College. He will never forget that first assignment, interviewing legendary basketball coach John Wooden.
Ray Reeve told me I was going to go down to interview Coach Wooden. I'd never done an interview in my life, so I stayed up the night before memorizing questions. I had about 20 questions I was going to ask Coach Wooden, and I was down there at Campbell in my little coat and tie, you know, and I was all set to do the interview. And the photographer said, "All right, Tommy," I'm sitting there with Coach Wooden. He says, "Go." And so I'm sitting there, and I forgot everything that I'd memorized. So I got my questions out, and I'm sitting there, and my hands are just shaking. You know, I say, "Coach Wooden, you have this new player. His name is Bill Walton. How good do you think he is going to be?" And Coach Wooden kind of looks at me like this, and he starts answering the question, you know, and then I ask some more like that, and he looks at the camera, and he says,
cut that thing off a minute. He says, son, come here. He says, talk to me. Don't read your questions, talk to me. If you talk to me like you were having a conversation, you'll be much better in this business. And I was so embarrassed because the greatest college basketball coach knew that little Tommy Suter from Rocky Mountain didn't know what the heck he was doing. And he was right.
There have been plenty of highlights over the years for the TV5 sports team. Great teams, great players, great coaches, bowl games, Final Fours, and national championships.
I'm Tom Suter. The 1983 NCAA basketball champions are home.
But it's WRAL's coverage of high school athletics that Tom remembers most.
One of the things that I'm most proud of is Football Friday. In our sports department, Bob Holliday and I have always kind of pushed high school athletics. And I thought Football Friday was, we'd go out into communities and cover 27 high school football games. And a lot of times news doesn't go to those communities unless there's a tornado or some kind of disaster or something. But we go in there with positive, showing kids, playing their hardest, playing their best. And we cover 27 high school games every Friday night.
Let's go to the videotape.
I kind of feel like here that I'm a bridge from the old to the new, because I grew up in eastern North Carolina, and I watched all the people. I watched Sam Beard and Russell Capps and Bill Armstrong and Bob DeBartoleben and Ray Reeve and Nick Pond growing up, and then I got to come here, and then by golly, I'm working with some of these people.
The News People bring you Action News 5.
Through the years, we've brought you Medical Beat, The Health Team, Money Desk, Buying Power, The Tar Heel Traveler, Spirit of Carolina, In Depth, Call for Action, 5 on Your Side, Project Environment, Brother to Brother, Wednesday's Child, Crime Stoppers, Take Action Against Crime, Extra Effort, Going the Extra Mile. And we've tried to go the extra mile to use the latest in technology to bring you the news. Sky 5, Livestar 5, and now WRAL Online.
Well, here comes the internet. Here comes the World Wide Web. Here comes audio. Here comes video. And now that's what we do. We're the audio and video providers.
Effectively blending the text and graphics of a website with the audio and video qualities of television.
We've been very successful with WRAL Online, and we have found that we can take our product that we do in radio and television at the network and put it all together in one place in that online environment. And we have high expectations for the commercial future of online as an advertising medium. You can do online 2 ways. One, you can charge a monthly fee, or 2, you can run advertising. We're in the advertising business. We're supposed to know how to sell advertising. So we're selling advertising to support our service. So once again, it's a free service to the customer.
On August 6th of this year, WRAL-TV was the first television station to broadcast in high definition. Now here's an example of what HD TV looks like compared with our current television. And once again, Jim Goodman was the visionary behind this bold move.
It's a quantum leap in quality. Much better picture, much better color, much better sound. It's just a wonderful technology. And the important thing is we're going to be able to broadcast it, and people are still going to be able to get this technology for free. My concern was that somebody was going to come up with a high definition format and put it on cable or put it on satellite, and that broadcasters wouldn't be able to do it. But now, not only are we going to be able to do it, we're going to be the leaders. And WRAL is really a leader, and we're the first one to do a high-power broadcast of HDTV. It's not often that you can be in a business and be part of a real revolution in the business, to see it really change. Color was a big change. Satellite news gathering was a big change. But the big change that we're all going to remember is this going to HDTV. When you sit here and you think about, okay, what's the future of the company? I mean, how can we make sure that 25 years from now there's a market for Capital Broadcasting Company? That's when I start thinking, well, we need to do HDTV. Wait a minute, everybody's on the internet. And everybody says that the entertainment and news and information and television is going to converge. All that's going to converge into one place. Well, we better be there then. We better see what that is. And we better get experience with that and stay with that, or technology could leave us behind. So my notion is, one, anytime you can improve your product, do it. Because this is the most competitive medium I can think of. Ratings every day, winner losers every day. And when you're in competition, you want to improve your product. Now, if you're going to do that, you might as well be first. Because not only being first gets you some recognition for being first, but it also means you know about it, you understand it, you can do it. You know how to take that technology and do something with it. So that's the reason for HD, that's the reason for online, that's the reason.
And the reason for this anniversary special tonight is to thank you, our viewers, for being part of the last 40 years of broadcast history. As we continue to celebrate WRAL's 40th birthday in the coming year, we want you to be part of that celebration too. We'll be right back to tell you about those plans.
How does WRAL-TV 5 give you an accurate forecast?
We use the latest technology to get information for our predictions, and that information is where else? On the internet. WRAL is the first station using this technology to track weather systems. With the internet, we can see details we couldn't see before. That means you get a more accurate forecast. Technology.
Just one of the ways WRAL-TV 5 brings you forecasting you can count on.
In the coming year, as WRAL celebrates its 40th birthday, we'll take time to salute the people and places that make North Carolina such a great place to live.
In 1997, we'll present WRAL Celebrates North Carolina, our chance to share stories with you about the communities we all love to call home. WRAL Celebrates North Carolina is our opportunity to celebrate where we live together, and we look forward to sharing it with you in the new year.
Thank you for joining us tonight and for sharing WRAL's 40 years of service. Good night.
A vision, a voice. 40 years of service has been proudly sponsored by Jiffy Lube.